Tashdile, this is Sakina Bhatt. Welcome to Tibet This Week. A weekly news on Tibet, His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Central Tibetan Administration. Let's look at the headlines. We must learn to live together peacefully, says His Holiness the Dalai Lama in a webinar with Baltic States. His Holiness the Dalai Lama condoles loss of lives in Taiwan train accident. His Holiness the Dalai Lama World Leaders on World Health Day 2021. China holds Tibetan writer Incommunicado detention. Sikyong releases human rights report on neighbors including Tibet. Sikyong on his first leg of South India farewell tour. Deputy Mayor of Budapest protests Chinese Defense Minister's visit, raises Tibetan national flag on town hall. Office of Tibet DC discusses Sino-Tibet dialogue. His Holiness the Dalai Lama graced a webinar organized by a coalition of individuals and organizations from the Baltic States last Friday, where His Holiness expressed his belief in the people of the Baltic States, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia in promoting widespread human brotherhood and sisterhood.
Now, moral ethics, the ultimate source of happiness among the humanity. And I emphasize we need sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. We have to live together on this planet. Now, concept of war is outdated.
His Holiness the Dalai Lama condoled loss of lives in Taiwan train accident. His Holiness wrote to the President of Taiwan, Ms. Tsai Ing-wen, and expressed his deep sadness about the incident. Prominent personalities, including His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Pope Francis, World Health Organization Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, among others, shared their messages highlighting the importance of water accessibility and security at healthcare facilities on World Health Day 2021. They especially noted the hazardous conditions in which women give birth in the developing parts of the world, statistically linked to high maternal and infant mortality rate. More importantly, the message cites His Holiness's statement issued last April on World Earth Day, appealing for the provision of basic necessities. We must ensure the sick and the valiant healthcare providers throughout the world have access to the fundamental necessities of clean water and proper sanitation to prevent the uncontrolled spread of disease. Chinese authorities have detained an eminent Tibetan Buddhist scholar and writer Go-Sherab Gyatso, also known as Goshar, a monk from Ngaba in Tibet's traditional Amdo province, incorporated in China's Sichuan province. The reason for his detention is not known at this time. Officials from the Tibet Autonomous Region had detained the 45-year-old monk from Chengdu, Sichuan province, on 26 October 2020. The news of Go-Sherab Gyatso's arbitrary detention surfaced after 5 months as his near ones waited in hope for his quick release. However, there has been no progress on news about Go-Sherab Gyatso's well-being and whereabouts, raising concerns for many over his condition in detention. According to International Campaign for Tibet, Go-Sherab Gyatso has published several books on Tibetan Buddhist philosophy, tradition, and culture. Prior to his October 2020 detention, his advocacy work for academic freedom in the monastic education settings resulted in his multiple detention and imprisonment, as well as forced exile from his monastery. The President of Central Tibetan Administration released a human rights report published by the New Delhi-based Center for Democracy, Pluralism and Human Rights at the Constitution Club of India in Delhi on Friday last week. Speaking about China wanting to ideologically dominate the world, Dr. Singh urged that there should be a greater awareness drive needed in the universities in terms of Tibetan studies. Other legal and human rights experts also spoke on human rights violation being perpetrated in Tibet and Syria. On his official farewell tour across Tibetan settlements in South India on Monday this week, Sikyong Dr. Lobsang Singye thanked the Tibetan public for the lifetime opportunity to serve the Tibetan cause and expressed his confidence in fulfilling their aspirations. Sikyong met with the general Tibetan public, visited various monasteries and Tibetan schools in Koligal, Hunsur, Bailakopi and Mungo Tibetan settlements. Sikyong also met with His Eminence, the 104th Gandhe Tripa, and briefed His Eminence of the major projects accomplished by his cabinet over the last 10 years. His Eminence, in his response, offered his appreciation and good wishes to Sikyong and urged him to continue to be of service to the Tibetan people. While addressing the students of the Tibetan schools in South India, Sikyong pointed out to the students that our political refugee status shouldn't limit us from becoming successful. He advised the students to always have what he called a victor mindset as opposed to a victim mindset to achieve success in their education. He also mentioned about CTA's high priority to education. Sikyong also thanked the monastics for their support and highlighted the important contribution made by the monks towards restoring and re-establishing the monastic studies and practices. Dr. Singye paid a quick visit to Ex-Army Welfare Association office and paid tribute to Tibetans who laid their lives serving in the Indian Army. In protest against the visit of China's defense minister, the deputy mayor of Budapest I district, Ferenc Gerenc, hoisted Tibetan national flags on the district town hall on 24th March. Expressing disappointment over the Hungarian government move in welcoming the member of the communist regime of China, Deputy Mayor of Budapest I district, Ferenc Gerenc, said, "There must be red lines for country, including the members of the European Union, while befriending with a communist country. No country can afford to overlook the violations of human rights committed by China." The Office of Tibet, Washington, D.C. organized the online North America SinoTibet dialogue, joined by 15 prominent Chinese scholars, lawyers, and political commentators living in North America. The discussion saw the importance of the Sino-Tibet dialogue and its significance to continue. They also highlighted the achievements in the preservation of Tibetan language and culture under the guidance of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, both in Tibet and in exile. The speakers also expressed their concern over CCP's brutal destruction of Tibet, East Turkestan and Mongolia, and applauded the development of a successful democratic system in the exiled Tibetan community. They also spoke about the middle way policy being the only method that can solve the Tibetan issue and urged for more dialogues and events to let the Chinese understand His Holiness's vision of the middle way policy. So much for this week. See you next time and have a great weekend.